I believe it was famous mobility athlete Connie Rollman who said, everybody want to have healthy hips, ain't nobody want to work on their hip strength. Well, now he's sitting in a wheelchair. Just so you don't end up like him, today we put together the most effective hip strength exercises that are going to help you not only keep them strong, but also increase your range of motion so you can keep those hips strong, healthy, loose and limber. So if you're ready, let's go and have some fun. Now, before we get into the somewhat advanced territory, we're going to start out with the easiest possible exercises. In a fully upright seated position, we're going to start with knee raises, which is going to help us activate our hip flexors the tiniest bit. Of course, be sure to keep your back extended so you do not compensate for a lack of strength in your hips by rounding your back. So stay fully extended. If this is the end of your range of motion, that is absolutely fine. Over time, it will get better. With our second exercise being extended leg raises, which now are going to require a little bit more strength, and it's going to also help us activate our quadriceps. Once again, staying fully upright so we can focus on strengthening our hip flexors and our anterior chain and the leg musculature without compensating for a lack of strength through rounding our spine into flexion. Moving up the tiniest bit in difficulty, we're going to do seated turnarounds. Start with the knee raise, and now we're going to turn sideways, bringing our leg into external hip rotation, just like so, before we do the same thing on the other side, completing our rotation and then reversing the movement. Elevate, external hip rotation on one side, internal hip rotation on the other side, and go through the movement in a very controlled and slow fashion so we can start really feeling our hip flexion. And for our final exercise in this cluster, stay fully upright. Once again, elevate your leg in an extended position, but now we're going to add at the highest point of your movement, external hip rotation, staying extended, back into internal hip rotation, reverse the movement and repeat on the other side. Stay fully upright, extend your leg, raise it as high as you can, external hip rotation, internal hip rotation, and reverse. This is more about learning how to control the muscles surrounding your hip joints so you can have full control over your legs. Now we can start increasing the intensity a little bit. Place something right in front of you, which we're going to use to go through hip rotations. Once again, in a standing position this time, external hip rotation with a bent leg. Raise your knee, move outwards, reverse the movement, and repeat, of course, on the other side, so we can work on our external hip rotation while strengthening our hip flexors. Of course, the next level will be doing the same thing with an extended leg. External rotation, keep it fully extended, and what's very important is to flex your quads as much as you can. You can even lengthen your toes to add a little bit more strength to your calves, and of course, once again, we need to work both sides in a controlled fashion. The more you stay extended in your back, the more strength you will require and the more control you will start building. And then of course we need to reverse both of those movements, so internal hip rotations from the outside to the inside, touch down and repeat. And the same thing goes for the rotation with our extended leg, from the outside to the inside. Very simple, yet a little bit harder than the seated exercises. And to add a little bit more intensity and a little bit more control, now we're going to combine external rotation without touching down with internal rotation, then touch down and repeat. First with a bent leg and of course extended as well. Outwards, inwards, touch down or don't touch down to add even more control, even more strength, but most importantly, more balance as well. Now we can move on to some of the really juicy stuff. Now, since most people struggle to get into a normal pigeon pose on the floor, we can make this position a lot easier by elevating our leg and getting into an elevated pigeon pose slowly in a controlled fashion. Bring your knee all the way down to the ground, which is going to start elevating your leg higher and higher. Just be careful not to pull your foot in like so and push your knee out. We want to stay parallel to the elevation. And from here, there are a handful of exercises we can use to build massive strength and control in our hips. Starting with internal rotation, flexing our adductors to raise our knee all the way up, and if we can, flatten our foot. Over time, we want to reach this range of motion. So if your movement is this, don't worry about it. Again, this is why we do those exercises, so we can over time have the necessary strength, control and mobility to come up all the way here and reverse internal rotation, flexing, external rotation into relaxation. Now the next exercise is going to require a little bit more strength and is going to combine hip strength and hip control in both legs. We will place our toes right here on the ground and start pushing our hips forward while elevating our hind knee. This is going to in turn push this knee down, help us strengthen our hip extensors while lengthening our hip flexors before we slowly, in a controlled manner, reverse the same movement, forcing us more into a stretch on our glutes in the left side before we release the stretch here and start stretching here and strengthening our posterior chain. So we have a nice stretch in our anterior chain and we have a nice stretch in our posterior chain on the other side. And now it's going to start to get a little bit more difficult because we're going to combine the last exercise, which was just raising our hip and pushing forward, with extension, meaning internal hip rotation, just like so, as well as extension in our leg. And now comes the harder part to reverse this movement. We're going to start bending in our hip and our knee, move into external hip rotation and slowly bring that leg down as well as the hind leg, knee all the way down to the floor. Now, until you build the necessary strength and control, you can work with your hands on that elevation, help you here into that extension and take off as much pressure as you need to be able to get back into this position. And over time, you should be able to both extend as well as reverse without using the help from your hands. Now, this moves us to one of the most potent hip strengthening exercises, and I would highly advise you to first work on the last couple of exercises and perfect those before you move on to this one. We're going to elevate both our upper body as well as our leg, keep that one fully extended and pull that leg in as closely to the extended leg as possible. Move all the way down, closer and closer and closer to the floor, lengthening our adductors, stretching the inside of our thigh, but also starting to build a lot of tension there to actively raise our hips. And we're adding a lot of core strength through balancing and a lot of oblique strength to help us move into this lateral spinal flexion before we move down all the way again. The lower you go, the more strength you will require due to a longer range of motion. And over time, this will help you combine both the flexibility and the strength for your hips when it comes to pulling your legs in as well as moving outwards due to the necessary control you need to hold in this movement pattern. Now, taking off some of the strength requirements and moving a little bit more into the control movements, we're going to use a weight for a change. Right around our foot, and kettlebells are just perfect for that. Getting to a laying down position on some sort of elevation, moving through hip rotations, internal and external, in a controlled fashion. So slow the movement down, move outwards as far as you can without touching the floor, so we can keep that tension, and reverse the movement, elevating as far as you can. Hold for a second or two on the highest spot before you reverse once more. Now, this exercise is absolutely amazing at helping you build massive control when it comes to your hip joint in general. And our final cluster is once again gonna fully focus on strength, but we're also gonna add a little bit of upper body strength as well as grip strength, because we'll be working 3 hanging exercises. The easiest one being the knee raises. Hold the top for a second or two and reverse. The second one being extended leg raises. Hold for a second or two and reverse. And the third one, requiring the most amount of strength and control, we're going to go through long rotations with both legs completely extended, using 0 momentum and 100% control throughout the entire movement. And trust me, just a handful of repetitions of those can be absurdly effective at helping you build strength as well as control throughout your hips. And there you have it, enough hip strengthening exercises on multiple levels so you can tailor a routine exactly fitting your own needs and your own level, and enough exercises so you can progress through them while you get stronger. So start working on your hip strength, and if you like the video, and come on, join us. We do stuff like that almost every single day, which means that I will see you tomorrow. So until then, Captain Cairo, peace out.